Back in order. Next item on the agenda is review, discuss, and act on independent auditor's financial and compliance report for fiscal year 2014. Ms. Kim, the floor is yours.
Hello, how are y'all?
Good.
Good to see you again. And thank you for allowing us to do the audit again. And also want to thank you for extending our contract for another 3 years. So appreciate that as well. I'll go over the financials briefly. And if there's anything though in here that you want to talk in more detail about, hopefully I can give you as much detail as you need. If not, I'll certainly be able to come back with any answers that you have. But stop me at any point with any questions that you've got. I'm going to jump to page 7, which is actually our independent auditor's report. And this is a standard letter that is outlined, of course, by the AICPA. But the opinion on the financial statements is at the bottom of 7. And it does say that the financial statements that we're presenting here present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the county, which, and the respective changes in the financial position, which is in essence an unqualified clean opinion. No modifications have to be made to the report, so that is very important for a county or any entity to receive that opinion. Moving on to pages 11 through 17. This is somewhat of a synopsis of the activity for the year and some kind of summarized information, and then I can point you toward more detailed information as I go through that. But if you look on page 11, I'm going to be commenting on the government-wide financial statements, which began on page 23. So that's going to be where we may want to go in a few minutes. But the overall assets of the county exceeded their liabilities by $6,332,384. That's called net position. Assets minus liabilities is called net position. So a good, healthy net position at the end of the year. Your total assets decreased from last year to this year, and your total liabilities decreased as well. Those figures are shown there. You may be concerned that the assets decreased, but the primary reason that the assets decreased was at the end of last year, there was a significant amount of cash in restricted assets. The courthouse preservation funds that were out there that we used during this year to pay off some debt were outstanding at the end of last year, or were there at the end of 13. So that's the decrease. Really, you're cashing up. So I just wanted to point that out. The total liabilities decreasing, of course, is a good thing, in my opinion anyway. And certainly 410,000 of that was that courthouse preservation fund. But overall, the county's debt did decrease as well. Revenues exceeded expenses during the year by $513,000. So it was a good year. On the fund financial statements, at the close of the current fiscal year, the county's governmental funds reported a combined fund balance of $596,000 roughly. Overall revenues exceeded expenditures by $128,000. So very positive numbers during the year. Excuse me. Moving to page 13, that gives you just a little bit more detail, and then I can give you some greater detail if you'd like. But page 13, will show you a comparison between 2014, which is the year we're auditing right now, and 2013 fiscal year. And again, you see that those assets, overall assets decreased, and the liabilities decreased as well. But one thing that is very pertinent to me on this graph here, this table, is that net position number, which again, the net position number is $6,332,000 compared to $5,818,000. The most significant number there to me is that unrestricted net position number. So that's monies that the counties have been able to accumulate that aren't set aside for something specific, that aren't set aside for debt, that aren't invested in your capital assets. So it's really good tangible money. And that's been a negative in some years in the past. So real great progress on that is what I'm wanting to point out. Then also on page 13, You see the change in the net position, which shows your revenues and expenses for the year. Overall revenues decreased, as you can see a little bit there, 6.4 million to just a little bit under 6.4 million. Looking down, you just don't really see a lot of discrepancies. It seems to be in other miscellaneous, and my guess is that's kind of in, sometimes we get reimbursements for things and miscellaneous revenues for a variety of things. So I don't think it's significant items. Then you look at your expenses, and overall your expenses decreased for the year between 2013 and 2014. Those are categorized in kind of major groupings there: general government, and road and bridge, and judicial, etc. The general government category increased. I saw a couple of areas that were that are in that category this year that did increase. So it's just something to mention. Your health insurance costs went up, as well as your utility costs. And Sheila and I talked about utility costs because it was out of budget for the year. So that may just be something that needs to be looked at as you do budgeting. Road and bridge expenditures were up. What I saw there were, to some extent, the mineral and gas and mineral monies that come in and increase those expenses. And I know they're direct.
Wait till you see this year.
I haven't seen this year yet.
Next year, after all these floods and
Yeah, oh, I know. I can only imagine what you're already seeing. Excuse me, I have a little bit of tickle in my throat. But overall, good area there too. Public safety was down. One of the big costs there that came down was your contract jail expenses, so that was helping you put some money in the bank. So that was also a good thing. And your interest expense is down. So again, I see everything in a really positive light right now. Like you said, we may not be saying the same thing this coming year, but page 14 is just a graph that sort of shows your revenues by source from a percentage perspective, and from your expenses by function there as well. Sheila made a comment to me. She said, "Gosh, I didn't realize that property taxes was that big of a number as far as the sources of revenue." So,
I might add to that is the reflection of road and bridge percentage. That don't reflect the percentage of property taxes.
That's correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wish it did,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah. You're right. You are absolutely right on that. Looking on page 16, kind of a comparison of your capital expenses, or where your capital assets are, and change there. I've listed a number of significant capital purchases that were made during the year, about $720,000. Many of which are grant funded, which is just awesome for you guys, of course. There's always some strings attached, but generally speaking, it's a good thing. So you see that your assets are staying. Your actually assets are increasing, but depreciation always brings them down. So it does look like the numbers just a little not as up as it may seem. And then again, mentioning your debt that was paid off and added to during the year. What we definitely saw was a lot less short-term borrowing for operating expenditures during the year. And then some significant reductions there to get those paid off. So very good progress as well. Now, I'm sorry, I thought somebody mentioned something. Just looking at pages 23 and 24, and I'm not going to spend any time on those, but what I've already mentioned, those are the details of those pages, your assets, your liabilities, and also your revenues and expenditures. Shows you kind of some of the things that are just a little bit specific. Then I do want to, wait, time out just a second. Nope, not that. Then the next page is 28 and 29. Really show your major funds, which are your road and bridge funds in your general fund. So this is your fund financial statements that you guys see each month. The other ones that I've been speaking about have my accruals in them and depreciation and all the things that I add at the end of the year. There is just one fund that has a deficit balance during the year. I have to report on that. That's mentioned in the notes. But the general fund, as I mentioned already, has a much healthier net position than it has in some time. Looking at page 32, which shows the general fund's change this year, went up $432,000, which brought us out of
Went up what?
Went up $432,000. Brought us out of since I've been doing this audit, the general funds had a deficit fund balance, and the account now has a positive fund balance. So
But you put some of that road and bridge, you know, fix these roads,
but now, I'm
so we
sorry,
need to turn some of that over to road and bridge, we'll fix our road.
that's going to be not my fault. Not my fault. But that is really as far as the numbers go. If you have questions, please stop me. Otherwise, there's a couple of other areas I'd like to hit. Shown on page 55 to 65 are the individual major funds, a comparison between budget and actual dollars. There are a number of categories as you look through those pages that show some significant variances, and it's one of the areas that Sheila and I are going to plan to work on a little better, making sure that we are recording some transactions appropriately regarding notes. And I know we were just speaking to Tiger about that in his particular precinct, in his particular fund. Because when I come in, we get it kind of all straightened out, and sometimes that shows just a little bit of a different budget variance. It is certainly not that expenditures were not approved. It's just a little bit of accounting treatment, and so we're going to work on getting rid of that so that we don't see these variances that appear. None of the number to kind of zero in on at the end of the day on any one of these is going to be the far right column. Let's just pick on the general fund for a second. That's on page 58. General fund 58. The pertinent number is the far right column, the variance, and then down toward the bottom, the net change in the fund balance. That would be a negative number if the fund were overspent. Okay? So there may be some line items across the way that didn't get really categorized appropriately, but that is something that you don't want to see.
Like on page 59, what is that?
Precinct 1, Road and Bridge.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Just call me out.
I'm sorry,
You need to that to do.
I had my foot on his foot, but it didn't get me to
But I do think in that instance, and as we mentioned already, we're going to work on some.
Move forward, Ms. Johnson.
Yes, thank you.
Over there, we talked briefly in the hall about some purchases that were made on equipment and the way we lease these trucks and all, and it might just be a time.
I think
But if it's not, like I said, her and Sheila is gonna get their heads together, and then they're gonna call me in, and we're gonna work on the areas that we're needing.
Absolutely.
I really don't believe it's a day-to-day and operational thing. I think it's just a timing deal with equipment purchases and wait at the time we've done this audit, but we'll find.
And I concur, so I didn't see anything that concerned me. But anyway, those are presented there. We have to present each one of the major funds, so that's there. Now, the last part of my report begins on page 87. It's the compliance section. And I'll draw your attention to a couple of letters. Page 89 and 90 is, it's not exactly an opinion letter, but it is our report on your internal control and your compliance with grants and laws and regulations. And if there's something that we find that is considered a finding, and so it really is going to be in a major category. Doesn't mean we don't ever find some little things that we could always work on, but there were no findings this year. So We didn't have anything in there, and also in pages 91 and 92, that talks about really your grant compliance, and again, we had no findings. Continuing after that shows your expenditures of the grant monies, which is also required to be presented. Y'all expended during the year about $894,000 in grant funds, so total funds. Moving on to like pages 98 and 99, you see the blank because there weren't any findings. And then page 101 to 103 is an update on findings that we had from last year. And just want to report that all of those have been cleared and addressed.
Good. Very good.
So really, I think a really good report. There are a few items that I'm going to outline in the letter to Sheila, and it will be provided to you gentlemen, that are maybe just ways to improve and some things to perhaps look at, but nothing in the category of finding. So, anything I can answer?
Ms. Johnson, I got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
The fiscal year ends in September the 30th. This is 9 months before we get an audit report. Why is it taking that long? I mean, I can understand end of September, we've got deals that's still out in October, maybe November, but by December, we ought to have it, all our bills in. And then Sheila gets all the information to y'all. Is that right?
We usually send her an information request of what we know we need, and then when we come in and start our work, generally speaking, there's always something new that we didn't even encounter and think we were going to have to deal with, because there's a new grant or there's a new something that occurred during the year. I'm going to lay the responsibility for this squarely on my shoulders.
That's where I was going to put it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. And we started this audit, and we can't do it until December. I mean, it just really doesn't, because like you say, you got to wait for the bills to come in, you got to get your bank statements, and you got to get everything closed off. Generally speaking, she doesn't do that until about Thanksgiving. We started this in December this year. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it out there. I had a little bit of a personal tragedy in my life, which somewhat derailed my life and derailed some of my work schedules. And then what happened was we hit tax season, and that's just a time that we're a small firm, and so we just could never get back over here and get it done. So I will not blame Sheila in any respect. It was really me and scheduling. And I want to vow to do better this year, because we really had intentions of doing that this year. Because it bothers Sheila greatly for the same reasons, and she ends up feels like she's in 3 different years at one time. You know, trying to finish an audit and coming into a new year and budgeting and all of that.
So next year we should get it
I
sooner.
would want to believe that, yes. And I think what I will do is we will plan to start in December as we did this year. And if something is encountered in December that I hadn't asked for, or something's out of line that's going to prevent us from moving forward in that, I'll give that information to Sheila, and I want her to provide that to you, and let us know specifically why we're delaying, if that's fair.
That's fair.
Anybody else have anything? Yeah, appreciate you putting this report together. And it's encouraging to bring a positive report. We appreciate that very
Good.
much.
Good. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it.
I take action, have to entertain a motion to accept this report.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Chamberlain to accept the independent auditor's financial report for fiscal year 2014. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank y'all again.
Thank you. Our next item of business is discuss and act on approval of claims and invoices. Good morning.
The only item I was going to bring out, everything else was approved before court by the commissioners individually, was on page 2, we had a purchase of some lowboy trailers to handle logging. And I'd just like to bring those out just because they're purchases of capital assets. But other than that, everything else on here is pretty straightforward with the exception of the additional rock and the additional hauling that's having to be paid for today. For the damages to the roads we've incurred, but those have all been approved by y'all individually.
What was the deal on the trailer?
It's two little war trailers that Jimmy and I found up along with the house. I treated that, his brother got out of all the business. You know, I'm at the call on y'all to move my loaders around and everything. I've been desperately looking for trailers, and we found these trailers up there, and went up there to buy one, and Jimmy felt like he needed one. His trailer's too small to move his loader on, and I've got them John Deere loaders I'm off of Textile, and our trailer's too small, so we thought it was priced reasonably, but we went ahead and purchase. I mean, we had to purchase them, we went ahead and put it on the bid for the purchase. So, the full line, we like to fit the wheel.
They hadn't been bought, I mean,
No,
we
they
got
got
to
to
be
be
approved.
approved. They got to be approved.
Are they big enough to haul and maintain?
Yeah, yeah, the type of trailer you see these loggers hauling their skidders around and stuff like that. I'm versed, do not have a trailer to haul my equipment on that, but the trailer that we had is too small. It's, that trailer was bought in '84 from West Virginia.
Do we know what the weight rating is on it? Sure you do.
It'd be on the time, we hadn't got the time yet.
Is that the wooden spoke one?
Yeah. The new trailer, I don't know, Jim, what do you think of a new trailer like this?
About 30. I bet it dumps 35.
Probably 40 to 50 miles. They're older model trailers, but they'll work for
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Chamberlain, seconded by Commissioner Smith to approve claims and invoices. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
We have a standing appointment every time.
Pardon me. Next item of business is discuss and act on the approval of the purchase of 1 or 2 cat motor graders for precincts 1 and 4, including the trade-in of 1 or 2 motor graders, and authorize the county auditor to acquire financing. Commissioner Worsham, Commissioner Brown, I want to inform the court that you
Yeah,
have one.
well, listen, I was talking about that deal I give you, Sheila, about buyback, purchasing the buyback. Information. I think I've got the figures in my head, but I have to leave this.
Talking about the,
I give it to you. This is not
this is the only other thing that I have.
Yes.
That's it. Well, this is just the pictures of the equipment purchase they have on,
Yeah.
and the trade-in information.
Okay, that's fine.
Copies of that one.
I didn't look this over here, but I'm gonna read you out more. This is what is provided to us through CAP. And, one of the financial.
You know, Mr. Bell?
Everybody got it.
What we done is, a few months ago, one of the commissioners up in Cherokee County, he told me he was leasing a motor grader. And after doing a little investigation, I found out Tyler County and Nacogdoches County and I think Angelina County is in the process. A lot of the counties in East Texas is going to this buyback lease program through Caterpillar. They've had it for several years, but it never really has been. We looked into it a few years ago and it never really was affordable because At the time they started this, it would cost the counties about $35,000 a year, and we felt like then that we could own the machines cheaper than that. Well, they got these figures down. I don't have a copy of this, but on one of the machines, on the 12, they've got a buyback program of the cost of the machine is $252,000, and they're guaranteeing us $188,000 by a guaranteed buyback figure after using the machine for 3.5 years. And it's a cost of $18,490 a year. It's completely covered under warranty, from head to toe, no expenditures to be done on the machine. Currently, I've got the Volvo that I bought in 08. I don't have any warranty on it. I'm paying $15,000 a year note on that. And if it breaks down, it's out of the county's pocket. And I feel like for $3,000 more a year, than what I'm paying for the Volvo, we can operate these machines with this lease purchase, and we virtually won't have anything to come out of repairs.
That's a new machine.
Yes, brand new machine.
In 3 years, they'll give you a brand new machine.
Exactly. You don't have to I mean, you can, after 3 years, you can keep it and finance the $188,000. It's the options up to you. But the problem I see, and I think a lot of commissioners around the state of Texas see, is at the cost of this equipment, like they said, this machine here is $252,000. It's going to be almost impossible.
Where you finding 250?
Well, this is on this. I don't know what the breakdown is.
Shit, this has a machine list price of $420.
Yeah, I think that's before the counties.
There's a discount on there too.
Yeah, it's-
Keep looking.
Okay.
This is what we're going to go on.
176.
I wish that makes it copies of it, because this is what this thing is.
Just in comparison, last year, when I bought the John Deere, I priced a Caterpillar, it was $240,000. Now they went up to $253,000 for the same machine. So that's $13,000 only in 1 year.
Well, the problem in my budget, and you just use my budget alone, about the max that I can afford on payment is about $20,000 a year. If you do the math on a machine costing $252,000, how long will it take you to pay that note? And that's within, time you figure the interest in, you'll be out of a warranty. I think this is the way to go with major equipment purchase such as maintainers. And that way you know exactly what to budget for. No repairs,
Plus, no trip charge.
no trip charge. I mean, they figured this warranty in. That's a big thing. I guess one of the mistakes they made on the Volvo. It's been a pretty good machine, but they have to come out of Houston. The closest dealer is Romco at Houston. It's $1,000 every time they come to Trinity County. If they come up here and diagnose the problem, and then go back to Houston and get parts, it's another $1,000. And that's a big thing. Under this deal, the warranty covers the travel time, the whole shoot thing. And I just believe in the future, many years, not just this year, but this is going to be counties like Trinity County and Tyler County that works on small budget. This is going to be the way they go. If they make it affordable, there's a breaking point to where you can't pay $30,000 or $40,000 a year for a lease, but if you can get a lease under $20,000 and a lease purchase for under $20,000 and keep it under the machine under warranty, I really believe that that's going to be the way to go. They're going to get me. I don't have the figures for Jimmy. They're going to. My Volvo's worth $57,000. You know, that's another thing. I financed $155,000 on that Volvo in 08, and now they tell me it's worth $65,000. I owe $57,000 on it, so they're going to give $65,000 for it. I'm going to get out one of that note. I mean, it's a big appreciation in the Volvo equipment, and we knew that when we purchased it. Caterpillar, about $70,000 depreciation in 3 years. So it breaks it down into what the payments are going to be with interest.
But these newer machines are so expensive to fix.
With all that
Computer stuff on.
small detection and depth,
all that.
The Volvo now, I have had for about 2 years, a major electrical problem. The other day, it just shut down on us. We were down there working on Barrett Road on the search project, and it just shut down. It just completely shut down. I thought I was going to have to get a guy to Houston, but my operator who managed to keep on from Agla and found about 5:30 that evening and got it back cranked. Because I mean, it was in the middle of the road, but I didn't know what to do other than call the county out there. And it's had a little bit of computer electrical problem, and it's already been worrying me. But I truly believe that this is the best way to go for our number one, especially I've got a Cat 12 down there that's a 91 model that I'd never get rid of it if it was up to me. It's my number 2 maintainer, but you know, go back to the mechanical days and get away from, you know, electronics and stuff like that, and if he's ready, but, you know, counting on your number 1 maintainer to be out there and do the work, you gotta have something to do all the time.
Does this program include routine service, oil changes? and
No,
all
that's
that?
No, we have to do that. Now, you can get it done for a little more cost, but we do that in-house, we do it online.
Jim, is yours gonna cost
That's gonna be a whole lot cheaper.
That's what I thought.
Jimmy's number's gonna be, because he's actually got equity in his maintainers, he's got the money up there, and he's got his stuff paid for him. And so he's gonna actually be able to operate.
Yours is gonna cost 18,000, you said a year?
Yeah.
And Jimmy's is gonna cost what, 8,000?
I hadn't seen Jimmy.
Copy, you know, that's in your copy.
In fact, I hadn't seen these figures in the auditor.
So he offered me 108, he went to 110.
That's 110 on, what model was that? Year old?
10.
10? It's 2010? And that's the one that just put a brand new motor in, is it burned up?
Geez, who made copies of this?
And what's so crazy, they spent 120,
Well, counting the lease, machine wasn't broke down, it's probably close to what she.
Maybe.
$120,000 that they spent on it.
That's interesting.
And then turn around and now they won't use the
10.
I personally think the investigator or whatever you call him, he dropped the ball on that, because I think they should have put the county check on that machine and not told them. There's their choice, they're the ones spend the money on it. Of course, we're the ones pays the premium.
This is a pilot program, so I'll let y'all go ahead.
Well,
That's just like a truck lease, you can't pay.
did you get this? Did y'all get this? This is what I'm going on. These numbers here are kind of confusing, but these numbers that they sent me, which is, and I'll go ahead and say it again, the cost is $252,000 with the trade involved, which is $57,000 on the previous Volvo, and they're gonna give $65,000. That figured in my actual cost a year is going to be $18,490 a year, with a guaranteed buyback of $188,000. So that's what I'm asking for on mine approval for.
So the bottom scenario, you're not even looking at it.
Now that's a little bit more
12
machine, a little bit bigger, and I'm bounced it around back and forth, and I think that we can get by with 12. It's about the size of the Volvo, maybe a little bit bigger than the Volvo. Only thing that I had to, sir, well, yeah, this trailer haul it, but very seldom we need to haul them out. Especially the ones under warranty, they're gonna come over here and work on it. I thought we might haul the Volvo down too, and it would haul the Volvos. But, the 140, only thing I thought about the 140 is it might have a little more above the guaranteed resale. That's another thing, the guy with Auctioneer Express told me that before we get ready to turn these machines in, give him a chance to run it on Auctioneer Express. Because he said they have before in the past made these machines bring $25,000, $30,000, and $35,000 more than the guaranteed buyback. He says if they don't sell, he won't charge us for it. But he said just give him the opportunity about 6 months before the lease is up, and there's nothing in the lease saying that you can't do that. And it's your option. So it's a possibility that we might could even make it bring more than the buyback.
Anybody have anything else?
I can make a motion. So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Worsham, second by Commissioner Smith to look at the purchase of 1 or 2 cat motor graders for precincts 1 and 4 and trade in 1 or 2 motor graders and authorize county auditor to acquire finance. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item of business is discuss an act on approval of declaring the 1988 Cat 120G for Precinct 3 as surplus and authorize sale by bid or auction.
What this is, Judge, this is my third maintainer. It's, I've got 2 good ones, and this is the old one that we've had out there since '88. And I think it's in the best interest to go ahead and put it up for bids. But I want that bid, Ms. Sheila, to read we can accept or reject. And I want a minimum of $30,000. Anyway, my plans is to go ahead and list it, and I don't have to use no maintenance. I'm not using it, but just in a type, and we're not using it that much. It's taking its place. I just don't really think
It's costing you, it's just sitting there.
Well, sure it is, and batteries and tires and all that, we'll go down to 2 maintainers, try to keep them going.
I make a motion to allow him to turn this into surplus and put it up on bid.
We have a motion by Commissioner Worthing, second by Commissioner Brown to move forward with surplusing the 1988 Cat 120G in Precinct 3 and sale by bid or auction with the stipulations $30,000
Minimum, and we can accept or reject.
Okay. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Sheila, do you post that or run it in the
Run it as
paper?
a paper. They
Okay.
turn them into the county judge's office, and then your number is given for anyone that wants to come see it or has any questions.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Next item of business is discuss an act on approval of receipt file listing, specified activity report, and payroll register. Mr. Dawkins, the floor is yours.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item 16 in the packet. Should have these reports open behind it.
I don't have it. Not in my phone.
We got 16.
Here.
I'll get you another copy. Well, the first report is the receipt file listing. That's just a one-page summary of all of the receipts that we had for the month. The other bumper reports that y'all read about receipts are included in there. So, total receipts for the month, $570,717. The next report is the same number, it's just broken down by the different funds. I'll give y'all a little bit to look over on this stuff. Page 2. course, obviously, the biggest receipts come into the general fund and the road and bridge funds.
What's the Joe Bittner receipt?
But, I'm sorry.
First page, 128.25 from Joe Bittner.
About 2/3 of the way there.
That's what?
Oh,
Insurance.
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 Okay.
Yes. We have the employees come in and contribute to their insurance if it's not fully paid.
Right.
And some of them, even though they may have the full insurance, they've taken out a supplement, like a dental policy, something like that. Most of them come in and pay like a quarter, 3 months in advance. So we'll see some miscellaneous receipts from former employees.
Make a motion to approve, that's what you're looking for.
Well, and y'all want to look at the rest of the reports on your own, which you can. The next one is just nothing but the payroll, and don't have any problem there. I would like to call your attention. So there is one report, if you want to take the time to look at that, that shows all of our collections and disbursements by account, our bank account. You want to look at that. Also, on the last page, you should have this, is I'm preparing a listing of our debt, the county debt. I don't have it complete yet. I have the bonds on there, and then the one note that's on precinct 1 for some equipment. There's some other notes for equipment that are not on here. The next commissioner's report, court meeting with this report, I'll have all of that debt listed, so y'all will be able to get a complete view of all of your debt every month. When the note payments are due, how much interest is due, so on.
So, we have 2 notes right now. One on the courthouse renovation, and then one on the sub-courthouse across the road annex.
Yes, that's correct. If you look at the very top one, the certificates of obligation, series 2012, that's the annex.
That was 700,000 that they gave originally.
Yes, and we owe 600,000. Now we have a payment coming due on August the 15th of 81,000. See that due on August 15th, 81,000. 21,000 of that will be interest, and 60,000 will go towards the principal. We make interest payments twice a year on February 15th and August 15th. We make a principal payment once a year on August 15th. So the February 15th interest payment has already been made.
And the maturity date on the courthouse renovation is 2021, and the maturity date on the annex is 2023.
Yes, sir. I thought that might be good information to put in there for y'all too, so that when you look at it, you say, okay, we got 10 more years, 8 more years, whatever.
Bob, looking at that interest rate, 3.5%, isn't that kind of high?
I'm not thinking, I'm thinking it's a pretty good
That
rate.
was shot.
Well, now, let me back up, and if I understand, I may be totally wrong, if I understand the difference between certificates of obligation and the bonds that were issued, notice the 3.5% interest rate is on the certificates of obligation, and there's a 3.25% interest rate on the government bonds. The difference is, if you will, I think the certificates of obligation are something akin to an unsecured debt, the good faith of the county. The government bonds are secured by tax revenues. They are still secured by, I didn't see that in here. Okay, good, I'm glad to know that. I was looking through that certificates of obligation, and I saw nothing in there that was tied to it.
If I'm not mistaken, Southwest Securities handles our financial outlay of courthouse renovation, and we have numerous people, or financial people interested in that finance, and that was the best interest rate down. Now,
I don't know if it's fixed. Is it fixed?
Yes, it's fixed.
It don't fluctuate.
It will not fluctuate.
That's what I was thinking.
Actually, what happened on the refunding bonds, y'all had some bonds outstanding, and those were, if you will, it's called refunding. You paid old off, issued new, and only thing that changed was a lower interest rate. I'm not sure you could do that today and get a better interest rate. Maybe able to, but I doubt it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that maturity day.
Yeah.
I still believe it's money well spent.
Well, just by way of memory, I was looking over the amortization schedule, and on the refunding bonds for the Series 2012, you know, y'all had some money left over in some funds on the courthouse renovation. So you started out with a $1,435,000, and you made a one-time payment of $400,000 to get that down to a much lower number. So we're down to $710. Of course, that will come down after the August 15th payment. You'll see $105,000 will be paid on principal on August 15th on that $710,000. So that was the initial refunding bonds had a longer maturity date, but with the principal payment that showed that maturity date.
Well, it should be just under $1 million if it's still up after August. I guess there's no way to figure pay it any more on it.
Not really.
Well, I appreciate you putting this together. This is,
Thank you. We'll try to get that update more current for each court commissioner's court meeting.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, I entertain a motion to approve.
second.
I do. Motion by Commissioner Chamberlain, seconded by Commissioner Smith to approve receipt file listing specified activity report payroll register. Any discussion?
And debt schedule, please.
And the debt schedule. Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 17 is discuss an act on the Nixle contract. This was brought to my attention by Bob. Can you bring this down here too? Sherman, that's right, I'm sorry.
Who? Oh.
Sherman, Chief.
Oh, good.
Chief Deputy.
Good. I was going to say, because I'm not sure what that Nixle contract is.
You want
I'll be responsible.
address it? Okay. This is Nixle contract. This is what we put in place before last year. And actually, the vendor made contact with Chief Jones and let him know we had kind of run over, but they're willing to keep us in the process and not drop us if we pay the fee now.
Sherman, exactly, or Woody, that Nixle, that's that thing where when y'all arrest somebody gets their phone and it pulls it up, tells them who's been arrested and all that?
Yes.
Is that all it does?
The free version.
It's what?
The free version, that's all it does. And I'm unaware that they've ever allowed us to start using the paid version. The paid version, I've been out of the loop on. This is the first I've heard about it.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it was a free deal because Steve Jones has got it at the city and I'd have never went for that.
There
I wouldn't.
was other
That's
uses.
just a luxury.
There was other uses. No, it's not really a luxury. I mean, it's a way to alert.
For those
We don't use
find
it.
out what's going on.
No. We use Facebook to do the arrest. The Nixle is for when there's an emergency, whether bulletins, if there's a wreck, something like that, or the road is down, or just some sort. That's what notifies everybody. Now, whenever the emergency management got together, and Nixle came to them and said, "We'll upgrade you for this amount of money," but I don't know that I've ever seen the upgrade.
So we need to pay
I don't know what it's
I don't
called, or
What falls under emergency management is, I don't know if y'all familiar with, like he's talking about, the blanket go out, posting on, cell phones or whatever the case may be, or your computer, if you're linked into it on your computer. It'll give you a mass, page out, if you will, to let you inform you of emergencies going on in the county.
One of the
They got the water's over 356.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful for that, but if it was just going out to tell somebody,
Oh, no, it's.
somebody got arrested, you know, I'm not about all that.
One of the two told me there was like 2,000 people signed up for Alex or the gentleman invested,
Alex McMullen.
or one or two.
But Bill, aren't you our representative with that cop? Ain't there some money over there that they could help us pay for this?
Pass, but I don't know, the money, they don't have any money, they just pass it through.
True.
Well, I understand, they got a lot of it they pass through. I don't see us getting a whole lot of it, I sure like to get us some of it.
If I may ask, table this, because I didn't know we paid for this last year. The version that we're using is free. And I have not seen the upgrades yet, so if we're paying for something, they haven't, I'm not using it. And
This is the first time I've seen anything on it.
I don't think we did pay for it last year. It was kind of an introductory year that we received it free of charge. Sheila, you haven't seen any bills come through.
How much is the bill?
3,200,
No, absolutely not.
3250.
32.
Now, I thought the emergency management was gonna do something different, but I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
The version I use is free. Now, who else is using the paid version, I don't know. But it ain't
Okay,
me.
we'll table this to the next meeting and get some more info back on it.
You want a motion, you got a shop, a copy?
Motion to table. Yeah.
You can have it.
I'll make a motion to.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Worthing, second by Commissioner Brown, to table and bring back at the next meeting, which is July the 13th. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, hearing none, motion passes.
I don't know what it does, other than emergency notification.
All right, next item of business is, as required by section 251.005 Transportation Code, discuss an act on requesting county attorney to file annual road report by precinct and with the grand jury.
We have this ready to go. Excuse me, I don't know why I got a clog in my throat when it's my turn to talk. The reports that we're turning in are basically last year's report, but it has a proviso on it that says, a special note, most road conditions cannot be properly evaluated until after the unusual 2015 rains and tropical storm hail damage can be assessed. So it's basically except for precinct 2, which was easier to do because it had fewer roads. It's last year's report that will update when we get a full knowledge of what the damage has been caused to the roads. Each of the commissioners have been given a copy. I've got a copy for the attorney that has their signatures on it to be filed with the grand jury, copy for the county judge, copy for the auditor, and an extra copy of what you need. We need to have this signed in your copy, here's the original. We need to, each of the commissioners need to sign that, but pass that around. We'll get that signed. That goes with the grand jury report.
Y'all each have these, you can just take one that applies to you and sign off on it.
On this side here.
Yeah, you can.
I make a motion that we approve this report, send it to the proper authority.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Worthing, second by Commissioner Smith to approve the annual road report by precinct and forward to the grand jury. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Which this got to be done in front of the notary?
It's got to be notarized.
You're a swearing person.
Sir?
She's a swearing person, she's a clerk. So we can sign it?
can mark it out.
Rotary, put it down.
Can you give that to the county clerk, please?
You take your oath anytime you want to do. I've got signed by 1, 2, 3, 4 commissioners.
Sir? Oh,
Each one signed as their individual. Now, I talked to the DA's office this morning, the current grand jury won't meet again. It's probably won't come on new one until July, either July. What I'll do is, I told Cheryl last year when we did this, make a file folder, put these in, so I can submit it to the grand jury when they meet again. You know, I think it's a good idea, and I appreciate Rich doing the paperwork on this, and supposedly the law requires you to do this, but there's no penalty if you don't. Well, there's always a penalty. Well, I've talked to a couple of councils about it, and that's the opinion that, but I'm glad we're doing
Yeah,
it.
the statute requires it, but
Statute.
also, we're still working procedures.
Yes,
It's
you
not
gotta do
completed yet.
it.
We gotta do it.
The penalty is you don't get money.
Exactly.
Well,
It's not that certain grantees could.
never was none available before
Hold
CTR.
funding.
Well, let me tell you the story. Is that Judge Thornton discovered this law back when he took office. The commissioners wouldn't file it, so he made them every month give an oral report on the conditions of the roads. And then they approved that oral report the next month in their minutes. So he got around it now. It's a good thing, and I appreciate you, Rich.
The whole idea behind the statute also was that in the 9th month, you start some of the planning and budgeting processes. So the whole idea was that the commissioners report how much money they're going to need to maintain the roads, and then you go into budgeting session. Now, we always need a whole lot more money than we get in the budgeting process, so it's more of an exercise.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you, Shasta.
Next item of business is receive updates on the following projects and discuss and act where applicable. County Energy Transportation Reinvestment Zone, grant road improvement projects, and Hurricane Ike 3.2 grant funding and project status.
No change. The commissioners are in touch with the contractors to finish up the grant processes and get those roads done. They're all part of the grants. We're hoping it starts drying up a little bit so we can get some work done.
Rich, have you found any emails on the C-Turds to see if they're gonna give us any money this year?
They did not authorize any more money.
No, they didn't.
We asked them to, but they had other priorities.
Yep.
Also, they got approved.
That's part of the legislative bill, they declined.
Okay, well, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
$48,000 worth of rock. That's
All right. Nobody has anything else? I
Or
entertain-
money to the county.
Right. Yeah. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Brown to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Stand adjourned.